Singularity.
My name is Nicola, aka Socrates, and you're watching Singularity One-on-One. Singularity One-on-One is a regular podcast feature of Singularity Weblog, where you can go and listen to it or download it in full. If you guys enjoy the show, you can help me make it better in one of several ways. You can simply click on the like button under the YouTube video. You can write a brief review of the show on iTunes, or you can simply leave a comment on the blog or make a donation. As always, I will be the man with the questions, and today the man with the answers will be Ori Inbar. Ori is the founder and CEO of AugmentedReality.org, a global not-for-profit organization dedicated to advancing augmented reality, and the producer of Augmented World Expo, the world's largest event dedicated exclusively to the AI industry. In 2009, Ori was also the co-founder and CEO of Augmento, one of the first venture-backed companies conceived to develop and publish augmented reality games that are played in the real world. Ori is a recognized speaker in industry events and a sought-after advisor of AR initiatives, as well as the speakers for the upcoming ISTA's 2013 conference in Toronto that I plan to attend this June 27th to the 29th. So that was a long introduction, but welcome, Ori. I'm very happy to have you on my show.
Hi, Nicola. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. So, Ori, what's the best way to introduce yourself and what you do in just a few words?
Well, I've been passionate about augmented reality ever since I discovered that back in 2007. And it was, after many years in startups and large corporations, I wanted to spend some time with my kids and think about the next big thing. And then I realized they're spending all of their time in front of a computer screen, watching TV, computers, in the internet, playing games. And on one hand, it's great because that's what kids do in the 21st century. But on the other hand, I felt like we must find a way to bring them some of the experiences that I used to experience as a kid in the real world. So I started thinking about that, and then, of course, discovered there's a computer science term that has been doing this for many years called augmented reality. And ever since then, it became my passion. So, started a blog about this, started meetups in New York, as well as large events all over the world. And also started a company to start developing augmented reality games.
Mm-hmm. That's a fascinating story. So, you told us how and why you started getting passionate about augmented reality, but what is the motivation in your future goals, being so passionate and working in the field as you are?
So the more I got into the space and understood the amazing potential that the idea of enabling us to digitally interact with the physical world around us, using our visual senses, but also other senses like sound, smell, touch, and maybe the sixth and seventh senses that we haven't even discovered yet. So once you have that capability, you can truly advance humanity. And that's kind of, our motto for the augmentedreality.org. We truly believe that driving the adoption of augmented reality in the world will really advance humanity towards many of the goals that we have as humankind.
Mm-hmm. I want to come back a little bit later to augmentedreality.org, but before that, I want to figure out that we're talking in very clear and specific terms. So let's start with the main meaning of augmented reality, the way you perceive it and you understand it to be. What is it?
So the definition, at least in my mind, and I think also in the industry, has evolved since the early days, where it was really focused on the visual aspect of augmented reality, where you register 3D content with the real world and augment it. But I think, the more people have started to use it and the more, other types of technologies have evolved around it, I think the definition has evolved. And it's including things like wearable technologies, gesture technologies, the Internet of Things, and our ability to interact with products, objects, things around us. all of these things, I think, are converging around what we like to call augmented humans in an augmented world. Or in short, we still like to call it augmented reality. but I think the core of what defines this new domain, this new ability, is the fact that we're digitizing the interaction between humans and the physical world. And I'm not talking about touchscreens, and I'm not talking about keyboards or mouse or anything like that. It's really about direct physical interaction with the physical world. And that is, again, changing probably any aspect of life that you can think of. It's going to change how we work. It's going to change how we have fun, play games, and interact with each other. So I think it's one of the most significant advances that will change the world in the 21st century.
Mm-hmm. But that's a very interesting definition for me, and not the first one that would come to my mind, personally speaking. Because my perception has been that augmented reality, the way I perceive it, has always traditionally been intermediated through vision. So now when you tell me that it's digitizing our interaction with the real world, we can do that through all the other senses, for example, touch, smell. So help me out here to figure out where I'm misperceiving the term. Is it limited specifically to our visual perception of the world, or are the other senses coming into play in it too?
So again, I think the original definition was really focused on just the visual sense.
Yeah.
But since then, I think it has evolved, and we've seen some great examples of how the combination of visual augmentation and smell augmentation and touch augmentation can enhance our experience in the world. And more of these senses are becoming part of I think the more loose definition of what augmented reality means.
So, for example, under this more loose definition, would computer-to-brain interface fall within that augmented reality definition?
I think human interaction with the world through the brain is definitely included. And in fact, there's a really cool installation called The Ascent, where a person, I don't know if you've seen that, but the person has an EEG system connected to their brain, and just by thinking, they can levitate. Because, of course, there's this whole system that holds them and kind of hangs them from the ceiling, but it's done only through brainwaves. And for me, it's definitely part of the, augmenting humans, because, it's something that you're not doing over, with a mouse or with a controller or anything like that. You're really doing it through your senses, and they're just being augmented to achieve whole new kind of experiences.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So for me, that totally expands the very meaning of augmented reality and what it is, which is fantastic. But there are some critics who would say that augmented reality is fake, that it's not real, that augmented reality is in fact an oxymoron. It's anti-reality. What do you want to say about that?
I think the answer is just, let's just look at some of the examples out there, the good examples. Because, yes, like with any new technology, there are lots of not so amazing examples. But the good ones, I think, are so significant that they immediately tell you, how this technology is really going to advance humanity. And one of my favorite examples is called Deep Green, or augmented reality pool. And in that example, you're playing pool, and there's a system that tracks all the balls and the cue on the table and show you a line of flight, which will be the ideal angle to hold the cue in order to get the ball into the hole every single time. And the result of that is that any novice player that just, gets to play it for the first time can immediately become a master. And now when you apply that idea to practically any aspect of life in terms of that requires training or maintenance type of things, or the whole idea of manuals that you read in order to learn how to do things, will become obsolete, and humans will be able to master skills instantly using augmented reality. And it will be initially, with vision, but then also, of course, sound and other senses that will augment us and help us understand what we're doing and how we're doing it so that we can achieve practically anything.
Mm-hmm. Now, your example reminds me very much to an example that I saw about a prototype BMW mechanics augmented reality glasses, where you get basically the description and the manual and how to install and uninstall specific car parts as soon as you put the goggles or the glasses on, and then you look at the car and you know how to do this and that because it's being literally put in front of your eyes. So yeah, I take your point that
there's a whole domain in augmented reality that is focused on training and maintenance, and it's not going to happen overnight, but there are certain areas where you already have gear, you have a mask or you have, some gear that you're wearing, and all you need is just to add augmented reality to it. So it's not a big change for the people that are already doing this, but the added value is tremendous. And one other example is a welding mask, or it's actually a system to train people how to weld. And because they already have the gear on, it's not something they have to get used to. It's pretty straightforward. And it's training them in a way that was not possible before. I mean, I don't know if you ever tried to weld, but unless you know how to weld, you can't really learn how to do it. It's really hard. So with the system, you can actually go through the steps, get all sorts of lessons. The system can track you, see how you're doing. So in a sense, it helps us achieve things, again, in a much faster and easier way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have never welded in my life, so I guess I would be a good subject to experiment with this helmet on. So let me ask you this then: are the major benefits of augmented reality in education and skills upgrading, or is there any other big major benefit that you want to talk about?
I think when you think about any aspect of life or work, augmented reality is going to completely change how we do it. So, we talked about training, maintenance, games, we can think of a lot of entertainment aspects that will completely change, because now we're not tied to a screen. Even, with mobile devices, you can theoretically play anywhere. You're still looking down and kind of have this tunnel view. And when you expand it and we actually interact with the world, with things around you, you become much more aware of what's happening around you. And that's kind of going back to my initial instigation for augmented reality, is really to get my kids, to look around and to understand what's going on, to be more aware of their environment, whether they're in the home or outside. And with augmented reality, there's a huge advancement in that respect. But again, I mean, I think it's if you think about the enterprise, warehousing, safety aspects we're seeing this a lot in the process industries, where augmented reality can enhance safety. If you think about, again, I can probably go through industry by industry and show how it has, huge advantages. An example, medicine, how can I forget that? That's a huge area where it will help doctors and other people that are in healthcare to make better decisions, to understand what's going on, to see through walls. You can basically have an X-ray at your fingertip that you can use in order to treat patients in a much better way. So. Again, I think this is a massive change in practically every aspect of life and work.
Now, but let me pick up a couple of elements here and see, and that's the children element and whether it's real or fake, as some would claim. And that reminds me, a couple of cases I want to give you here. There was a case of a couple in South Korea, a young couple with a toddler, and their toddler died out of starvation while they were, I'm not sure if it was Second Life or one of the other games online, taking perfect care of their digital baby. Their real baby actually did die out of dehydration, probably. And so the question is, do people start to sort of forget the real reality and embrace the augmented reality so much that they forget it doesn't exist, that it's not real in some way, in some sense?
It's a very sad story. But if you go back to the 90s when everybody was in virtual reality, I was very excited about this as well. But ever since then, I grew to basically have a beef with virtual reality. And that is exactly because of that point. It makes you unaware of what's happening around you. I mean, in this extreme case, it's your own kid, which is crazy. But in general, virtual reality and the key way that we currently interact with computers and digital information is through screens that make us oblivious to what's happening around us. Mm-hmm. And augmented reality comes to do exactly the opposite, because it basically requires us to look around, to see what's going on, the people, the places, the things around you, and only augment them with, either visual or other senses. It actually makes us more aware of what's happening around us. Mm-hmm. We're more in tune with the now. I like to call it, you play in the now, because now you're aware of what's happening around you, the people around you, and the senses are actually much more attuned to what's happening around you, because they're augmented through all sorts of digital means. Mm-hmm. So I think in that sense, augmented reality is gonna fix sad stories like the one you mentioned, and again, hopefully help make a positive impact on humanity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I absolutely hope that you're right, but let me bring my second point in here. Augmented reality has been around for probably 50 years in military. I was a 5 or 6 years old kid, and my father was working on the Mi-24, the Hind. I think the NATO designation is the Hind helicopters. And I remember being 6 or 7 years old, being put in the gunner's place, which is the first spot on the chopper, and being put this helmet on, where you basically, when you start moving your head and stuff, you can actually see the targeting mechanism, which is precisely augmented reality. It's interposed on the real reality, and then I think it's a 50 caliber cannon or something like that underneath that starts moving, just like the Apache similar system. And so it's been around for a while, and it's been very popular in everything military. So let us talk a little bit perhaps about the costs of development of augmented reality and the applications, or the cost of the applications. What's your take on that? So far, do you think it's been a positive impact on the world or a negative one?
So, obviously, when people started developing and designing these systems I guess the first one was even Saturnland in '69, and then in the '70s, you've seen systems like that in air fighters as well as helicopters and so on. In those cases, the cost of the machine is so huge, just adding that thing is not significant. And because, you're already sitting in the small chair and you're looking at a certain direction, it was much easier. But it required, the whole system, and it was very expensive compared to what you can do today. I think there were two revolutions in augmented reality that made it more accessible to the mass market. One was when our toolkit adapted their system to work in Flash. And then all of a sudden, anybody with a computer and a webcam could create an augmented reality experience and experience it. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of a huge boom where, a lot of augmented reality applications were developed. But it was still tied to the computer. And then a few years later, with, I guess, the first iPhone and then, the Android phones, all of a sudden you had all the ingredients you need for augmented reality in this mobile device, and everyone already has it in their pocket. So it was a huge advancement of this whole concept. But this is also just a step. I think we all know that we're looking for the eyewear, where your hands are free and it's always on, and, covers your entire field of view, that will be kind of the next big step that will make basically everybody want to use this every single time of their day. So we're now in the transition to that next stage. I don't think it's happening this year, but it's pretty close. But the fact that we have it on mobile devices is a great stepping stone towards that evolution. People learn to design for this. People learn how to experience this. So I think it's creating the demand. And then, eyewear, which has also been around for many years actually, will get the right investment and the right focus to actually make it mass market ready.
Yeah, I think eyewear. I think I've heard about eyewear being used since the 12th century or something crazy like that. But speaking of the latest eyewear and about something that you just said that I want to take issue with, that everybody would want to jump on that bandwagon. Google. Let's talk a little bit about Google Glass here and take it step by step. So, first of all, have you tried Google Glass yet, and what's your take on it?
So I actually didn't have a chance to try it myself. I think, it's one of the best things that happened to augmented reality because, if you look at the trend line of people learning about augmented reality, it jumped double or triple when Google Glass was announced. But there's only one issue. At least currently, it doesn't support augmented reality. Yes, it gives you information above your field of view, instead of kind of looking at your phone, and you can interact with it using your voice. That's great. But it doesn't really overlay graphics on the real world. So in a sense of, is it really distracting you from reality, or is it making you more aware of reality? I think it's swinging a bit more towards the distraction. Because, I can imagine situations where I'm sitting in front of you and all of a sudden you start looking upwards and kind of Googling or something like that, and I feel like I lose you. So that's something that I'm a bit afraid of with Google Glass. But again, I think it's a first step. And when people are learning about it, they get excited. They're going to try it, and then that will lead to more advanced augmented reality eyewear. Which, by the way, there are at least a dozen vendors out there with amazing eyewear that already supports today see-through augmented reality the way we're talking about, and I think Google Glass will help them actually become come to the awareness of the masses.
Yeah, we already have very good examples of some of the capabilities. The only problem is that they're too expensive. And again, going back to the military, the F-22 helmet I hear is about $2 million. But that has, from what I've read about it, absolutely amazing augmented reality capabilities. Highly complex, highly expensive system, so clearly not there yet in terms of mass market and civilian usage, but at least we have a product that we can talk about.
Yeah, no, I think today we already have several eyewear that support augmented reality that are below $1,000. Now,
can you give us a few examples?
Yeah, there's the Vuzix company that has been in the space for some time, initially with video glasses, now with see-through and augmented reality glasses. And that's selling for, some of them are higher than 1,000, some less. So that's one. There's Epson, which came out with the Vario glasses, which again is below that range. And they're not that awful looking. You could actually see yourself walking with these glasses on the street. Maybe not for everyone yet, but it's getting there. And it's relatively light. And again, together with these guys, I think there's at least another 10 or 12 vendors that are working on these glasses. A lot of them, we're going to see them soon in conferences presenting their products. And the price will go down very quickly. Because right now a lot of them are sort of in the prototype stage, so it's still expensive. Yeah, but once you sell a few tens or hundreds of thousands, the price will drop to something which is, I think, very affordable for anybody. Just like a mobile phone under the $200 mark, and at that point they also look pretty good. They will be functional, and there'll be enough content to justify purchasing these things. So I think it's not too far at all.
Yeah, speaking of that, maybe Apple or whoever else wants to be on the next wave of tech should be looking into that, because that might be one technology that kills the phone, for example, as we know it. As something that we hold in our hands and press buttons on, right?
Yeah, and we know that all the big guys are working on this just by judging the patents that have been issuing, whether it's Google and Motorola together now, whether it's Microsoft or Apple. Yeah. You see what Sony is doing and Epson and other giant electronic companies. So yeah, I mean, I think they're all going to fight over this. But for now, I think besides Google Glass, most of the other vendors are actually small startups with amazing innovations that are trying to kind of spearhead this movement.
Yeah. Let me ask you this then. So, are you surprised by the pushback towards Google Glass? And I'll give you a couple of examples. First, there's already clubs in San Francisco and areas which have explicitly banned Google Glass. And another example, I just moved into a new condominium building just a couple of weeks ago. And I was surprised to find out that any such devices are also banned in the common area of the building. That's to say, in the gym, in the lobby, in the boardroom, in the party lounge, all those areas banned. So what do you think of that?
So, just like with any new technology, you have the people that are excited and enthusiastic about it and adopt it. And then you have the other half, which just is afraid of it. They like the status quo and they're going to be reluctant to adopt it as long as possible, right? And it happened in every single technology. I'm sure it happened with the wheel, like 50,000 years ago, and also with
the Tokugawa regime banned the usage of wheel for anyone except for the emperor.
Here you go. You see?
Yeah, for 200 years, I think.
And even electricity, just 100 years ago, many people were afraid of this. It's going to burn the house and it's going to blind you and all these weird things. And then, what was interesting at the Chicago World Fair, where for the first time they lit up the entire fair with electricity.
Light bulbs, yeah.
And all of a sudden, it became clear, okay, it works, it's easy, it doesn't burn anything. And from that point on, it was adopted by everybody very quickly. So I think, we're going to go through the same process. Now, I think, there's going to be this concept of wearing versus not wearing. And, I think most people will wear it most of the time because it will just make their life better and the work more productive. But then there will be those, moments in life where it will either be required for you or you just feel that you have to take it off and kind of disconnect for a few moments. I think many wives will be, important in that part, because just like today, helping us stay sane in many cases and kind of drop our mobile phone for a few moments. So I think the same will happen with this, and we'll try to be more kind of a face-to-face interaction without all these augmentations. So that's definitely going to happen, but it's just like with any other new technology that is being adopted.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned the terms wearing versus not wearing, you reminded me so much of Werner Vinge's book, Rainbow's End.
Exactly.
Have you read that book?
Absolutely. That's from there. I mean, when it's, when from eyewear it becomes contact lenses that you wear on, and sometimes you can't even see if somebody has it on or not. You have to actually ask somebody, are you wearing or not? And again, just like in the book, many people will just wear it all the time, but in some cases you'll just have to drop it, remove it, and be real for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Be real. Okay, so that's going back again to our conversation, what is real? Which is kind of like the Matrix question, but I'll just skip it for now and sort of sail on. In your presentation for the upcoming conference in Toronto, I've seen the synopsis of it. and you talk about the 3 laws of augmented reality. Would you mind talking a little bit more about those?
Absolutely. It's the 3 laws of augmented reality design, specifically.
I see.
And, of course, it's sort of tongue-in-cheek over the 3 laws of Newton and then the 3 laws of robotics. But the idea was to try and encapsulate really what separates good augmented reality design versus the bad ones that really doesn't advance us towards our goal. And I think it's because what I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years since I've been kind of championing the space is that we're getting to a point where it's really easy to build an augmented reality application. Anybody can do it. Anybody can publish it on a mobile phone. And we're seeing a lot of crap, between us. What can you do? And that is, it's part of the game, right? But I think now it's important for people that really understand the space and have been developing these apps for some time to actually help guide everybody else, where it should go. And it's really going to be all about the designers. Mm-hmm. The designers are going to basically make this thing work or it's going to fail. It's, the technologies have done their job. It's in a point where it's good enough. There's a lot of great ways to experience augmented reality. Of course, there are advancements to be made, but it's really good enough. And now it's really about designers kind of inventing a whole new language of interaction. And you can maybe learn from what you know about human-computer interaction, but this is totally different. So we have to think about it in a whole new way. So I was trying to kind of encapsulate those 3 laws. I found this blogger called Lex Ardez with the 3 laws, and he basically says 3 extremely simple things, but I think that if you adhere to those laws, you'll end up with a pretty good experience. And the first one is that the experience has to emerge or relate from the real world. I think we've all seen many marketing campaigns where you slap a video or an image on some marker or target, which has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. And it's cool for 3 seconds if you've seen it for the first time, but it doesn't really enhance the experience. It doesn't engage you more than just looking at it on a website. So I think that's really a key, and I agree with that point. The second one is that augmented reality must not distract you from the real world. And that is key. That's kind of going back to our discussion before, virtual reality versus augmented reality. Mm-hmm. What's really the point of augmented reality? It's to make us more aware and more engaged with the real world. We want to be more in the now. So if the experience is kind of distracting you from the world, then it's probably not doing a good job. And maybe it's a valid experience, but you should probably use virtual reality for that kind of experience. Mm-hmm. And then the third one is, it's even broader than the other 2 laws, and that is that the experience you're building has to be better than all the other alternatives, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're building an experience that you watch a video on a bottle or on a poster or whatever it is, why not watch this video just on your mobile device or on a computer or whatever, right? I mean, what's the added value of watching this video? Mm-hmm. So you have to always compare the design that you're working on versus the other options of making it work. And if you don't feel like it's going to be a superior experience, then just don't do it. Use the existing ways. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good principle in most things, actually.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's not inventing anything really new here. I think the simplicity is what's really nice about this. And when I look at dozens and dozens of new applications and projects every week, and I try to look at everything out there, I found that this is really a great way to kind of, as a litmus test, to see what's good and what can be improved. And if we can provide this as a guidance for designers out there, I think it will help improve the overall state of augmented reality applications and really drive us towards the goal of driving the adoption and making it really meaningful for people that use it.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you about if and where ads fit in those laws that you just mentioned? Would advertising be the way to pay for augmented reality? And if yes, then how are ads going to fit within that?
Yeah. So ads, it's one of those areas that will completely change with augmented reality, right? The whole notion of billboards, the whole notion of sitting in front of a TV and watching commercials, all that I think is going to completely change because people are not going to want this kind of intrusion into their field of view and their now with all these things. However, I think it's not like, the end of advertising or branding. I think it's the opposite. What augmented reality does for brands and for companies that want to advertise their products, it's the killer dream for every marketer out there.
But is it the killer dream for every user?
Yeah, no. I mean, for every marketer and without compromising the user experience. Because I see that in kind of 3 steps, right? So first step, I'm looking for a product. I want to buy something. So now augmented reality can help me, can guide me. Where is it in my neighborhood? Where is it in the store? When I'm looking at a box, it can tell me what I can do with it. It can show me how I can use it. So in a sense, it's helping me understand the product and buy what I really need in a much easier way. Now then when I take it home, when I interact with the product, it's literally like the marketer is sitting on my shoulder and watching what I'm watching and understanding how I interact with the product. So from that perspective, it can, first of all, train me to interact with the product in a better way. It can also learn, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I like, what I don't like. And that is the most valuable feedback any marketer can get. So in a sense, it's driving the engagement with the brand and with the products to a whole new level that was not possible before.
But isn't that the most dangerous thing? I mean, you have the marketer, as you said, over your shoulder, looking at what you do, how you do it, when you do it, why you do it. And who's to say that we can't... Isn't that what the meaning of Big Brother is, in essence?
Yes, of course. I mean, many people are kind of raising the fear from the Big Brother because of all the cameras and all the augmented reality that we're going to see around. And, there's definitely something in that fear. But if you think about, when you browse online, whatever you do online, there are a million eyes that are watching every step you make. And, there's always this kind of battle between privacy and transparency and so on. And it's going to continue to happen. But even today, when you click on a website, people analyze every click you make and try to understand what you're thinking and what's behind your behavior. So now, we're just going to take it to the next level and understand it better.
Coming in my own home, in the washroom with me, in my bedroom, in the swimming pool, like everywhere I go.
You can always turn it off. Again, you can always turn it off.
I hope so, but just like, modern cell phones, the only way you can really turn them off is if you remove the battery, right? Because you can't really turn them off. If you turn them off, they can always be turned on remotely.
Yeah, we need a kind of a plug to be able to pull it from the wall so that we know for sure.
And because that's one of the big concerns with the technology. And I mean, helping you buy stuff is cool. It's fine when you do need that. But buying or purchasing stuff is only a small part of our activities that we do, right? And wouldn't it sort of feed into us being even more consumerist society than we already are? Because, I mean, I'd like to think that the vast majority of time that I'm spending and we are all spending as a society in terms of buying decisions and things like that is minor compared to the rest of the things that we do during our day. And this would tend to overwhelm us because everything would be like, okay, I just happened to walk into a store to meet my friend and go out for a coffee, but maybe the device would imagine I'm there to purchase something and would start bombarding me with all those things. And then I'll be like, okay, well, maybe I do really need to purchase those things, and I'll end up buying them, for example.
Yeah. No, I think, this is kind of the whole battle over the settings, in Facebook, for example, right? You have to really find the right level that is tuned for what you want to do at a certain moment. But I think, to your point, it's just like the internet and, barcode scanners made us better shoppers. We spend less time, I think, on shopping a specific product, and we make better decisions. We get, better prices. Mm-hmm. So I think augmented reality is going to help advance that trend. Are we going to consume more? I don't know. That's kind of beyond me. But are we going to be smarter at shopping? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And let me give you a couple of really extreme examples here. But Cory Doctorow is a big proponent of some of those ideas, or at least considerations that we have to have while building those new technologies. And the issue here is one about DRM, digital rights management, and about privacy. Now, you've already mentioned a very sort of expansive, all-inclusive definition of augmented reality. So let me give you this scenario where you have a person with a cochlear implant, right? Under your definition, that's definitely an augmented reality because it helps the person hear. It could enhance certain parts of the sound from certain areas and help him hear better and mute others. For example, if you're in a conference in a very noisy environment and you just want to hear a specific voice, you can sort of mute down the rest of it and just focus on that or whatever. But with digital rights management, you are basically giving the right of the producer of that device to, through back channels that you have no control over, basically not only provide augmented but also disaugment the reality around you. So in other words, they can turn up or turn down the world around you, and they can even remove certain things. So they can, let's say the person with the cochlear implant is a 6-year-old kid and their parents want the kid never to hear the words, or any swearing words. And they sort of censor their kid, if you will, in that way.
Yeah, it's called diminished reality.
Yes, diminish the reality of swearing around the kid, wherever.
Yeah, and some people say, I'm going to walk on the street, and what if I want to erase from my view all the Republicans or all the Democrats and just live in my own bubble?
Yeah, precisely.
That's going to be part of the game, which I think, again, is already happening today. People live in bubbles depending on who they meet, what they watch on the net or TV or whatever. And they kind of create their own environment that they like to see. So, in a sense, we'll be able to actually take that to the extreme.
Absolutely.
We literally see and feel only what you want to feel, which could happen.
Absolutely. But the difference, I think, is that we kind of at least have the presumption that we're in control of our own bubbles, how they shrink or expand. Once you purchase a device from the market which intermediates your interaction with the rest of the world, then perhaps a third party, maybe the company, maybe a hacker, maybe a government, would be able to do that for you and leave you unaware. Just like, for example, you have digital rights management software on your computer nowadays, which, if you want to do certain things with your OS, a message pops up and comes up and says, I can't let you do that, Dave. Right? So, and I own this computer, but and that's particularly true if you're a Mac user, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not a Mac user. Because I build my own computers. But if you don't buy something from the Apple Store, you can't really use it on a Mac, can you?
There are certain things you can, but I see your point. I mean, and I became a Mac user, several years ago, and ever since then, everything is Mac, which is, kind of forcing me to do this. But I chose this because of the experience, because I feel the overall experience is better, although I may be kind of, put into a certain wall garden that doesn't allow me to customize things to the nth degree like I can with other platforms. But, it's a choice.
Yeah, it is a choice, and I am using an iPhone myself because I can't actually build one myself. So, and it does work in that sense, right? So I was like, okay, I get something that works because I can't actually make a phone. It's too small for me. I don't have the knowledge. I can put a computer together, but not a phone. Anyway, perhaps we should move on with those questions about privacy, but I think our society would definitely have to confront those issues. So let me ask you a few questions about the organizations that you're affiliated with. What is Augmento, first of all?
So Augmento is the first company I co-founded in the space back in 2010. Again, after seeing my kids in front of those computers and kind of trying to find a way to get them into the real world, I thought that games would probably be the best way to do this, because everybody loves it, not just kids. Mm-hmm. They're fun, and you can learn from that. And it's a great way to introduce a new technology to this audience because they're always open for new things. They're not afraid to try new technologies. Mm-hmm. So we decided to focus on the first company in the space on building augmented reality games. Joined forces with 4 other co-founders, 2 from the gaming space and 2 from the technology side of things that actually built where PhDs in developing computer vision systems. Mm-hmm. And together we formed this company. We got one of the first venture-backed funding for an augmented reality company. Mm-hmm. In gaming, and we started to develop location-based and augmented reality games with the idea to introduce the technology step by step, so that so we can actually drive people to adoption on a mass scale. Mm-hmm. And there were some really cool games that came out. Some prototypes that I think were very advanced. And about a year ago, I decided to leave to really spend all of my time on driving the community and helping advance augmented reality as a whole, which was my passion for 6 or 7 years now.
Now, when you say driving the community, is that are you referring to augmentedreality.org?
So we started this nonprofit organization to help kind of coalesce a lot of the activities that I and many others have been doing in the space. So it's, pretty simply put, a nonprofit organization dedicated to advance augmented reality for humanity. And we're doing basically 3 key things. We're educating, we're connecting, and we're hatching. Mm-hmm. Educating both the developers, designers in the space, as well as the market at large about how augmented reality can really meaningfully change the way we interact with the world, and not, go beyond the gimmicky stuff and the things that people have seen and may have disappointed them, but really focus on where we can really drive a whole new level of interaction. Mm-hmm. We're also connecting people online and in local as well as global events. You mentioned the Augmented World Expo, which is the largest augmented reality event in the world happening in Santa Clara. And that's where this year we're planning to have about 1,000 people to come in with over 100 demos of augmented reality and really help connect people with technologies, people with people, help them kind of learn about the space, learn from each other, inspire each other, and also hatch, which means help drive new augmented reality initiatives and startups. Mm-hmm. So part of kind of what I do is advise augmented reality startups in different fields, different industries, which is really fun. Mm-hmm. And by connecting people and educating, I think we're also helping people to hatch these new initiatives. Just by sharing information, who to talk with, what products are out there, what technologies are available, and what people have done in each one of those industries. It gives you kind of a head start to create initiatives that are more successful. Mm-hmm. And we're doing all of this towards our goal, which is, we kind of defined our moonshot, if you will, to have 1 billion active augmented reality users by the end of the decade. That is by 2020. Now, Is it huge? may sound like that, but it's actually I think we're on track towards that goal. But it's really going beyond the number of downloads that people are tracking today. I mean, I've seen some reports saying that by I think 2015 we'll have about 1 billion downloads of augmented reality a month. And yeah, I mean, I've seen many downloads, but I want people actually to be actively using this to improve whatever they do, whether it's work or life. So in order to get to that point, I think it's kind of, we need to harness the whole community and all the key players in the space to really educate everybody else, about the right way to do things, the right technology that can achieve those goals, and help drive it in a way that has a positive effect on humanity.
Fantastic. So, as part of my preparation, I actually looked into all of those, and when I was looking at the information about the Augmented World Expo this year, it was one of those events that made me feel like, oh my God, I'm in the other end of the world and I'm going to miss that too. And it looks so good. So if I were anywhere close by, I'd definitely be there to check it out because it looks fantastic to me.
Thank you.
Now, we've been talking about augmented reality for about 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes by now, but let me take you a step further down the path and ask you to talk a little bit about augmented humanity, or what some would call transhumanism.
I think it's connected, of course.
Isn't it the next natural step of progression? I mean, first, the computers that augment the reality are outside of our body. Next, they're on contact lenses on our body. And then finally, they'll get into our body. And transhumanism in many ways is about, adopting technology to improve our life and make things better, easier, faster, healthier, generally better than...
No, I think augmented reality basically diffuses a lot of the fears that people have from transhumanism. I mean, when you think about, plugging something into your brain or, enhancing your hands with robotics, that's scary. What augmented reality does is it allows us to enhance ourselves in a natural way through our natural senses, right? So whether it's the visual or audible or whatever other sense we have, so it provides a more evolutionary path towards making us superhumans. So in a sense, that's why I like it so much, and in a sense, I think once we learn how to become better through our natural senses, people may start kind of injecting those enhancers into our bodies, and it will be much more natural. But all of a sudden, we don't need to wait for those plugs to be better. We can do this through our natural senses, which I think is what making AR so attractive.
Yeah, speaking of injecting those sensors into our body, that reminds me very much to Ray Kurzweil, who says that, eventually we'll be able to put nanobots the size of a blood cell, billions of them, into our body, and they will be straight into our brain, and they'll be able to project the augmented reality straight inside of the brain. So let me ask you this. What's your take on the technological singularity and Ray Kurzweil?
I think Ray Kurzweil, I'm not going to be the first to say that, is a genius, and is way out there in the future and helping us kind of see the way. I'm more of a product guy in the now. I'm kind of working with what I have, and I can see where this is going, but I'd like to build products right now. So for me, it's kind of out there. I always listen to his talks and watch his movies and read his books, just kind of to understand where this is going. But I tend to spend most of my time in the here and now.
Well, yet on the other hand, he says if you're an inventor or entrepreneur, you should be planning for not what's there up on the market right now, but 5 years from now, so that by the time your invention, your product, whatever it is, your business is ready for the big time, already it's like up to date to the latest.
Absolutely. I think you would agree that everything I've been talking today is at least 5 years
absolutely
out there. So yeah, that's why I am when I mean the here and the now, but it's not the 20 or 50 years
You
ahead.
mean like the short term, like 5 to 10 years? Yes,
Yes,
I get
exactly.
it. Okay, great. So, Ori, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. But unfortunately, time is advancing. So let me just run you through my last traditional 2 questions that I ask of everybody on my show. And the first one is very simple and straightforward. Where can people find more about you and your work?
So I think the best place to find information about kind of what we do, what I do is in 2 spots. It's the augmentedworldexpo.com, which is our conference website, which has just tremendous amount of information. Just when you look at who's coming to the event, the companies that will participate, the awards that will be given there, it kind of gives you a great snapshot of what's happening, the key players, and so on. So that's a great place to start. And of course, also augmentedreality.org, which is evolving to really help support this community and enable the kind of connecting people and educating, not just for those 2 or 3 days at the conference, but 365 days a year. So that's where the augmentedreality.org is going to come into play. And we're also partnering with a bunch of other augmented reality conferences around the world. So, it's becoming something that is happening all over the world throughout the year and is really helping connect everybody, educate, and help advance this area.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So hopefully you'll make one in Toronto pretty soon. So that
we're actually pretty good partners with the Istas event. We've contributed speakers and content and trying to the more events the better. So we're definitely not competing with other events.
Absolutely fantastic. So the final and perhaps the most important question that I want to ask you today is this. Is there a single message or perhaps the single most important thing that you would like people to take away from this interview with you today?
I think I kind of touched on that before, and it's really about designers. Again, technology has matured to a point where it's ready for the mass market. Anybody can experience augmented reality today, and almost anybody can develop it. But we have to think about how we develop it in a way that will really make it meaningful and improve the way we do things. And that's why it's kind of a call to action for designers out there, user experience designers, graphic designers, product designers, hardware designers, anybody that basically thinks about how to make a product work for humans. This is the time to jump into augmenting humans in an augmented world and think about what it means for this new world and think about new ways to design it. And we're going to make a lot of mistakes and we're going to fail a lot, but I think through that process we'll learn what really works. And that's probably the one single thing that can make augmented reality more meaningful and drive the adoption with the masses.
Ori Inbar, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Nicola. It's been a pleasure.